Friday, I started on my way to work listening to Atomic Habits. You were absolutely right. I literally cried. So, uh, there's
Wait, wait,
that.
wait,
So,
wait, wait, wait. I can't let that go without any discussion. What does that mean? You literally cried? What do you mean?
you know how, like, at the beginning of the book, he's telling the story about how the baseball bat broke off
Yeah.
his bone in his face, basically. It was just kind of like, just it made me feel a type of way as a parent, like to have to go through that. Um, so that was it made me want to continue to read it or listen to it. So
Beautiful.
I've been listening to it. I got up Saturday, cleaned up my daughter's room while listening to it. And then I went in my room, moved a couple of things, and turned on Netflix. And it was Netflix until like 6 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah. So that is here's the reality. This is not a judgment in any way. But if you are the phrase we do not determine our future, we determine our habits, and our habits determine our future, right? In no way do I have any type of authority or even the nerve to say that's a bad habit. I just have the clarity to say that is getting you what you're getting, right? And you can determine what that means, right? The question is are you excited about that? Are you happy about that? Is that where you think the long-term success is going to come from? And if so, keep it up. But if you believe that that's not causing you to reach your potential, then we have to determine what is going to be the adjustment, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, I would suspect that there is in our short little discussion here, everyone on the call can probably put themselves in a similar position or think about a time that's happened to them. I think this is all about, there's so much can come from this peer group, guys, right? It's a bunch of people that are trying to attain the same thing, basically, right? Some clients, some income, some peace of mind, right? Some quality of life. Like we're all chasing the same thing, more or less. The question is are your habits in alignment with that, right? So number one, I appreciate you sharing that. That is, every time every time that somebody chooses to share something, it's they're exposing some vulnerability. And I just want to express my gratitude for that, because every time you do that, you learn and somebody else is going to learn as well. So thank you. All right. Quick note on reporting. Reporting is due yesterday. So please take a moment to evaluate the success of your week. If you earned a listing, let's tell the world about it. If you did not earn a listing, then put a 0 in there, right? If you didn't add anyone to the database, put a 0 in there. That's what your activity yielded this week. And it's important that we take a moment to recognize that, okay? I think I mentioned this before, but while I'm thinking about it, I'll go ahead and say it again, is all of you guys in 2021 sold 245 homes for just a hair shy of $72 million in sales volume. You made just 30 grand short of $2 million in income. Okay. So we are basically a double MREA team. So I want you to know that's kind of the way that I approach this, is that you guys are all teammates, right? And I'm kind of the leader of the team, if you will, right? Helping you think the way that you need to think so that you can do whatever you got to do to get what you want whenever you want it, right? That's what leadership is. All right, speaking of leadership, that was a nice transition. Speaking of leadership, we have a woman on today who's our star of the show, Kaya Lindsay. And Kaya, the truth is that the first time I spoke with you, you were not somebody that was my recruit, so to speak, right? You came in outside of me, and I forget exactly why I was asked to reach out to you. I think it was just you were taking a while, just like me, and so I maybe they thought I would be a good person to chat with you about. But ultimately, I heard something special in you, and I probably pursued you with more energy than I pursue most, and it's turned out to be completely accurate. And so what I'd like to do is just give you a chance. And all this, by the way, happened during COVID. So like we haven't really spent a whole lot of time together in person, like a lot of the relationships that I have with agents across the office. So I'd like to give you the floor a little bit to share a bit about your journey, your background, how you got into real estate. And one thing that I just want to share publicly is that I've been very impressed with your tenacity, like your grit. Like good things happen, you're excited. Bad things happen, you're excited. It's just like you like making things happen, right? And I think that is a super critical quality to have as you are building your business and as you are, trying to figure out who your ideal clients are and how you're going to service them and all that. You definitely have a professional, like you tend to have, or how do I want to say this? Like you realize that professionalism is a big part of the gig. And I've seen that attitude and that presence from the get-go. So I just want to, number one, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got here. And then I kind of want to dig in a little bit with your, kind of your attitude towards real estate and what you accomplished this past year and what we should expect of you for next year. Sound good?
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
All right. Well, you're the star of the show, so tell us a bit about you, if you don't.
So I've been in real estate about 4 years, so it's not some long journey. I originally started with Keller Williams out of a different office, and then I left home, went to another agency. Not for anything that they did wrong, but I felt like, I was ready and I didn't need as much hands-on stuff. So I was like, I'm going to another agency where the commission split was a little different. So I was like, okay, let me try my hand at that. And I joined a team. And then once I saw that I felt like I really didn't need the team support anymore, I ended up kind of getting recruited by Robin Lemon. And when I came into the office to speak to Aubrey, I ended up deciding that our office in Roswell was the right fit for me. So that's when I switched over to you guys, to be with you guys here.
What did you do before real estate?
I was a jack of all trades. I've always been involved with sales, or to speak. I was a waitress for a while, and then I helped to run like a gymnastics studio for a couple years as well. But I was kind of front of office, getting the people to sign up for different packages, but it wasn't like telemarketing. They came in and they had an interest, and then it was my job to kind of build the interest and see what fit best for them.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea because that's something that some salespeople, that's their experience, right? The candidates walk in the door and you sell them. And then when they get into this business, they forget that if they're not paying somebody to do the first part, then they got to do it themselves.
And right. That was a hard adjustment.
How did you adjust to that? Because quite frankly, you've adjusted pretty well to that. So walk us through that a bit.
Well, first, it was hard for me because I'm going to say the things that everybody hates, which is I hate cold calling. I'm not a cold caller. And I know that works for everybody, a lot of people. And I know that works for a lot of people. But because I didn't want a cold call, but I wanted cold calling type results, I had to shift my mindset so that I could substitute the cold calling in door knocking and relationship building live and in person, because I do have that kind of, I don't really like to feel like I'm bothering people. I like people to come to me and then I can try to sell myself because that's the way it's always been for me. And instead of trying to run the game the way that other people ran their game, I had to figure out what worked for me so that I wouldn't dread working.
I like that. So did you end up doing some door knocking? What was the strategy that you kind of dove into first?
I did big open house stuff. If I didn't have an open house, I was hosting other people's. I went in, I called people and was like, hey, it's a crazy busy market. If you can't host it and you want me to host, I see you have one on Saturday. Would you like me to host one on Sunday? That kind of thing, because I feel more comfortable reaching out to other agents to try to get work done that way, because I am being, Bill says it all the time, it's like I'm being an asset. You want to go and you want to lead in by showing what you can do to help them, so that then in turn, you're kind of helping yourself.
Yeah, that's a totally different attitude than a lot of agents take, which is they walk in and they're like, okay, who's going to give me something? Where's my next lead? Who's going to give me an open house to work? And then when they get it, it's like, okay, well, do you have any signs? And do you have any riders? And it's like, wait a second, I thought you were saving me time here. You just gave me 3 hours worth of work. Now I got to drop off some signs for you. The whole point was to save me time. Right. So I think that's a great statement that I want to make sure we highlight, is that the more people, this goes for your peers, your agent colleagues, and it also goes for your prospects, is everyone just wants things to be a little easier, right? So everyone that you are in relationship with, the question ought to be is, how can I make this easier for the person that I'm in this relationship with, right? Whether it's the cooperating agent, hey, I'll put your board of realtors name on there because it's just one less thing you got to do, right? Working with me is easy, right? Working with me is not stressful because I take care of it. And I got my team to take care of that kind of stuff, right? Great. That's I'm glad you said that, because I don't want that to be overlooked. So how do you keep it all straight? Like, I kind of joke, everyone needs to be triple sat in their life, and then they'll know what high stress is, right? That comes from somebody who's waited a lot of tables myself. Like, don't dismiss that experience, right? You have to react in a kind of high gear. You have to determine what is most important and do it quickly, right? You have to remain straight-faced in front of your people when their dinner is burning in the back or whatever, right? And that in many ways is very much like real estate. It's almost exactly like real estate, right? You got a lot of people you're courting at once. You got to figure out what needs to happen. You got to figure out what needs to happen first, and you got to keep smiling during all the bad stuff, right? It's basically the same job.
And constantly moving on their feet, because I don't know if I'm sure everybody notices I'm walking around as I'm talking, because before I agreed to do this, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And now I've got an inspection in like 45 minutes that I've got to be at. And I didn't expect to have to be there, but my client was going to be there, and then ended up not being able to go. And it was very important for me to be there. So I'm going,
Well, that's another sign of leadership, is that it would have been fairly easy for you to message me this morning and say, hey, I got an inspection, can't do it. Right. And you chose not to do that, right? So that's just a testament to what you generally find to be your duty, so to speak. And whereas there are other agents out there that would have done the exact opposite. So thank you. Okay. What do you think the key to some of your early success is? Because quite frankly, I mean, we all know the stats, right? 80 to 85% of agents will not make it 2 years, right? So what did you do that has caused you to have the success you have?
It's gonna sound corny. It's like I started reading these books and all this inspirational kind of stuff, things that inspired me, watching videos of other people, and not just like real estate agents. I have a mindset that I want to be a successful business person. So I watch successful business people, and have the mindset, like, instead of I try to act like instead of I'm going to try to work to become a millionaire seller, instead I started working like I already was one. I know they talk about having bigger aspirations, and I feel like that helped because you do want to be proud of the things that you accomplish, but you also want to have not have a small mindset where yes, it's good that you were able to get these things done, but that's it, keep going. It's like, all right, well, you did that, but in big picture, you want to hit these other numbers. You want to make stuff happen. I was bad about yeah, you have all these systems in place, of course, productivity coaching. We get the emails every week, and I look at things, I'm like, all right, I know that getting all those things done can be hard. So what I do is I go through it and I pick out the things that I know that I can try to get accomplished within it. So even if you can't do everything, do something. I try to put steps to be better every day. And
okay. So let me touch on one concept that you said is you want to be a better business person, right? And so you're not just studying how real estate agents run their businesses, you're studying how business people run their businesses. Can you give us maybe an idea that is not, or maybe less thought of as a real estate concept and more thought of as a business concept that you have adopted?
Let me see. I don't know, because like
I did not send Kaya the questions ahead of time, so
right.
I'm asking you to think on your feet a little bit.
Okay, so like I've got this board now. I'm sure everybody's got a version of something like this. And before I had it filled up with all of this stuff, but then things got lost in the hustle. So instead, what I did was when I was talking about a list, I've got January up there, and I've got all these things that I want to get accomplished before January is done. As I get them done, like, okay, like 250 letters sent. I wrote 150 next to it because so far I've already sent out 150 this month. And, it's not updated. I promise I'm further along with that. It's in January. But, and then I've got my Life by Design form right here to keep me focused. And then little inspirational stuff, and this stuff moves all the time. I've got my calendar over here. And I'm like, and this isn't some, of course, I'm sure all of these are real estate based things as well. But I know that me seeing it makes a big difference for me. Being able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, it's getting to this, you hadn't done this yet. Oh, it's getting to this, you hadn't done this yet. And then it changes and shifts the priorities of what I have to kind of get done, And of course, you always need to be lead generating. So that's always number one. But then everybody else is, then it prioritizes daily almost.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Stuff done, but I constantly am having to push that one down because, I have time to finish that. So even though it's important for me to get my continued education, it's not more important than me having a meeting with a client.
Say that one more time, please.
That even though getting my continued education is important, seeing a client and lead generating is more important than that, because you can always fit it into last minute. You can get on MLS.com and knock out your CVs in really a month if you're focused. Find them and you can get everything accomplished that way. But lead generating and speaking to people all the time, of course, is what we need to keep the lights on. What keeps you being a real estate agent? Because if I got all this continued education but I don't have any money, it's like, well, gotta go back to busting tables for a little while.
Yeah, that's true.
A full-time agent, you can't, but when I was part-time though, I felt like I wasn't giving myself enough of a chance to make real estate work. So I had to say, oh, go ahead.
I want to come back. I want to dive into that in a good bit of detail here in 1 second. So what you're saying basically is that, actually, let's go there now. Talk to us a little bit about the evolution of you dual career, part-time, and what it took to get you to where you are today.
So, of course, I look at my bank account and I was watching the numbers dwindle down, and it was concerning. But I know everybody doesn't have a partner to be supportive, but I had my half of things that I needed, and I had things saved. And then once I had started getting some deals done from my dual money, I was like, if you got this other job and this other job is supposed to be about paying bills, then your real estate money should all be towards real estate. So what I did was when I got my checks from real estate, instead of trying to use it to pay bills and catch up on other stuff, I set it aside so that it could pay bills when I didn't have my other job anymore. And I know it's easier said than done, because you're like, oh, well, this is, hard. I also changed who I was advertising to, because of course I love my FHA people and I work with them all the time. Ooh, everybody's calling me. Sorry. I love my FHA people and all that jazz. It's like, but there's FHA people who are in the $500,000-$600,000 range, and it's like you don't think about it like that, but there's plenty of people who their first time out the gate is in a higher price point. So instead of advertising and me feeling like, okay, I need to get my friends to agree to this, and I need to get my family, and of course your sphere is important, but I found that I was more successful behaving like I didn't have anybody, because I'm moving from a different city. So a lot of the people who even try to help me live in Florida. So, I really needed to get the strangers out there, and I found that I had more success dealing with strangers. All of their referral people are strangers, my biggest cheerleaders. And it's like,
yeah, honestly, I felt like I never personally really enjoyed working with my family and friends, because I found that, like, gosh, sometimes their pettiness would just drive me crazy. And to be honest, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to move forward unless the outlet gets switched. Oh my God, are you serious? How have I been friends with you for so long? This is driving me crazy. Right. And I just had a lot more fun working with people I didn't know that well. It's really interesting. Walk us through, like, when did you quit and just focus all on real estate? Like, walk us through what was going on in your mind then. I only have a couple questions left, guys. So you guys are all next.
I felt that I looked at the numbers of what I was producing and I knew that I was better than that. And I looked at the deals that I had gotten finished, and I was of course so proud of all of my deals. But I was like, you know what? You could double that number, you could triple that number. And I looked at the things that I did instead of getting more leads. And I felt that it wasn't a priority, really, because other than my family, everything else needed to take my real estate needed to take priority, other than my family. And and I love my friends and everything like that too, but they understand. Like, my friends now, they don't call, they know not to bother me on the weekend. Like, they know that I'm a Tuesday, Wednesday kind of girl. Like, if you hang out with me, that's when we're going out, because on the weekend is dedicated to, even if I don't have an appointment, I should. So to me, if I am not busy on the weekend because of my own choices, because really there's no reason not to be busy on the weekend, even if you're doing somebody else's open house or if you're door knocking, you can volunteer to door knock and not even be involved in the open house. You can be like, hey, there's an open house coming. Of course, you speak to the agent, be like, but if it's a neighborhood that's a good neighborhood, like, hey, this open house is coming up this weekend, everybody would love for you to stop by. My name's blah, blah. You give them a little information and you keep it moving. Because as long as you've got kind of the other agent's permission, you're not stepping on their toes, why wouldn't they want more advertisement?
Of course. Oh my gosh, you just, that last 30 seconds was just full of awesome comments, right? If you're not busy on the weekend, you got no one to blame other than yourself.
Because there's always stuff to do.
There's always people to help. There's always people to meet. There's always communities to go get more familiar with, right? Hell, you could go and do some non-real estate, getting out into the marketplace. You can go volunteer or something, right? Go do something that's got nothing to do with real estate, but it's got to do with, I'm gonna meet some people today.
And then it always makes it organically, meeting. I always slip it in. There's not one new person that meets me, unless I feel like I'm being obnoxious. But generally, if you talk to me for more than 5 minutes, you know I'm a real estate agent. Because I'll slip it in there somewhere and be like, and then that's what gives them a chance. Because like I said, back into talking about, I don't really like to push people. Me mentioning it then gives them an opportunity to tell me, hey, oh yeah, I am looking for a house. Or, oh, that's crazy you say that because my blah blah is looking for one and you seem so nice and da da. And it's like, yeah. And then I talk about my family. People love you talking about your family. Like you can talk about
True.
things that they know that you're a real person that looks out for other people. And
Yeah, I love that. And I think that just to tie in with one thing you said at the very beginning is that when you know that you are doing it for the right reasons and you study the art of it and you come from contribution and you really just want to help a lot of people and do the right thing by them, then it's not salesy, right? It's like if I just express that mission to people and they maybe don't need my assistance at the moment, it's no big deal. It's not a rejection. I know that if I'm not a little assertive about it, then they may work with a bad agent. And the law of averages would say they are going to work with a bad agent, right? And so if I really care about the people in my community, then I'm going to go out there and be a bit assertive, because if they don't get to work with me, they're just not going to have a great experience, or as great of an experience as possible.
mm-hmm.
Right. And I know you feel very strongly about that. That's awesome. All right. I'll take a pause for a second. Who's got some questions for Kaya? What have you heard, or as a agent and wherever you are in your business right now, what can you learn from Kaya? Lorinda, it was looking like you were reaching towards the mute button.
Yes, I was. I was just going to say how inspiring it is to hear her story, because being dual career agent, like I'm looking for that path to get to full-time. So I like that she kind of went on a limb and started, worked with a team, and then she decided to come to Keller Williams Roswell and found her fit there. My question was, so every person she talks to and gets through that conversation, something about her being a real estate agent, does that count as one of her contacts for the day? Because I mean, if
that
it
does.
they
What
don't
a
say
great question. Yes, just so everyone hears this very clearly, any conversation that you have with another human being about real estate is a contact.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. All right.
Can I ask a question on that, Bill?
Yeah, sure.
So if you don't even exchange contact information, is this still considered a contact?
It's still considered a contact, because what we're really trying to do by monitoring the number of contacts is to determine the relationship between the number of contacts you have to have and the number of appointments that you hold, right? So if you've got to go through, let's say you're calling an expired and I say, hey, it's Bill with Keller Williams. I see your home came off the market. They're like, oh, you're a realtor? I hate realtors. Bye. That counts because it took me time. And if I make that same comment to 50 people, somebody's going to agree to meet with me. So I'm looking for that mathematical formula.
And I think that illustrates very clearly the difference between contact and database. Contact is a conversation about whether it's email, text, in person, door knocking, whatever, is an email, is a conversation about real estate. Database is when you do get their contact information so you can stay in contact with them. So that's a very clear difference.
The only other thing I would add to that is, if you are reconnecting with your people that you have not spoken to in a while, don't force real estate, right? You have to ask yourself, have I earned the right to bring up real estate? Remember, at the end of the day, you're conditioning people to have an immediate response, sometimes that they can't even explain, when they hear you or see your name pop up on caller ID or something, right? So for example, if I haven't talked to Candace in 15 years and my coach told me to make some calls, and I call Candace, I'm like, hey Candace, remember we used to work together, by the way, I'm a realtor now, do you have anyone that I can help? She's probably not going to take my call next time, right? It needs to be, how can I pour into Candace? What do I need to ask Candace on that phone call so I can find out what she's up to? and what help she might need and what questions she might need answered and these kind of things. And if appropriate, right, you can bring up real estate. And in those situations, even if you don't bring up real estate, but you've kind of you've kind of given some new air to that relationship, count it and then bring up real estate if appropriate next time. But don't force it, and certainly don't make the phone call a straight up solicitation, because they will not take your call. Okay.
And to touch back on something else that was asked too, when you're talking about the contacts too, I always keep my cards. Now, I don't give people cards expecting to give it to them and they're gonna call my card. Most likely they're gonna keep it, might be in their pocket for a few days, and then they throw it away. But I use it for brand recognition. You know, if I run into somebody and I talk to them and they see my card the first time, like I've gone to give my card out before and somebody was like, oh, I've gotten this. I was like, oh my God, I've actually already seen your card before, because everything I give out has my card on or in it. So I'm a big on door, like I'll leave little like door bags sometimes on people's doors and stuff like that in neighborhoods and stuff that I'm familiar. And because I do it so consistently, I've gone to give my card before and then they're like, oh my gosh, you're sitting on my table actually. And I'm like, oh, am I? And, you know, and that also makes them feel more like I'm not just a stranger out on the street. And when you're talking about the contacts too, same thing. What I do is if I look at my number and I'm like, dang, I haven't spoken to them forever, I will still go ahead and have a conversation with them about whatever regular stuff is. And then I put a note in there to call them back in a month. And they talk to them. So everybody I have a list of people that, okay, I talked to them about their kid. I know that their mom's doing this. I know blah, blah, blah. And then in a month when I follow back, then I'll talk about real estate. But if they're my Facebook friends or anything like that, they already know I'm a real estate agent without me saying it. So then it kind of reinforces it and it doesn't seem so forced. Like, oh yeah, you just called me because you want to talk to me about houses. And then they're like, whatever, I don't know that. Hey girl, he talked to me and blah, blah, blah. And this is what she want to talk to me about.
I mean, it's very true. Like we oftentimes don't get random calls from our friends just to quote check in, right? So you better be on your best behavior when you're making those calls. They have to be really, really thought through. So Kaya, tell me about this discipline you got, because it sounds like, I mean, you're tending to, all the reminders. Okay, I just finished this conversation. They said to call them in February. Okay, I'm going to figure out how to make sure I call them in February. Hey, I just got a $10,000 check and maybe I've never received a check quite this big yet. I'm going to go stack, 3/4 of it in a drawer for later. Like, how do you do that? That's not a very common quality.
I mean, it goes back into the behaviors. I did start reading that book, that Gary Keller, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And when I was reading it, I was like, a lot of things resonated. Now, granted, I'm like, when I give it off some of it's a little outdated, but you can still pull so much good stuff from it because it has fundamentals of the things that we're supposed to kind of do. Like being inspired is like, when you get up in the morning, you need to be inspired because you got to pay your bills, and I was going through my business like I was entitled to the money instead of like they have to decide that I deserve it,
Oh, wow, that was good. Say that. Go into a bit more detail there, please. That was good.
So I remember I would get butthurt when I would see people that I knew and people that I knew that I was a real estate agent have closings with other agents and other people. And I was like, and first I was like, how dare they? Like, why? Like, you're my friend. I'm not talking to her no more because she knows better. How dare she not, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's a personal journey for one. And this is what I'm talking about with strangers. You're diving into people's finances. You're diving into, and I feel like that was almost makes it harder for people that know you to trust you with all of their personal information. Because you can trust somebody on one level, like, hey, we're friends and whatever. But like, I have plenty of clients who are struggling, and I'm like, if these were friends of mine, and so we had a falling out, then I could go back and be like, oh, well, that's why you broke, and it took you this many times, So it's like people have this fear that you're gonna run off and tell your friend group all of their business and all of your stuff. It's like, so instead you need to show them leading professionalism. Like all of my friends, of course, they see me in all different kinds of levels of me. But
They see you on the weekend and they see you on Tuesday night.
right, right. But one thing that they definitely see is they see that when I'm out with them or something's happened, I'm like, sorry, I gotta go. I gotta go talk to this client, or oh, a client's calling me, I gotta go. And that sets the precedent too for them to understand that if they were on the other side of this, that I would make them a priority in my business no matter what I'm doing.
Wow, I think that is so important. Great job on that. That's a big deal. I remember, I'm trying to remember exactly who said this to me, but I had to go through an evolution like that too, where I had a lot of, not a lot, but I had a handful of my friends along the way decide to work with a different agent for whatever reason. And I, like you said, I got pissed. I was like, how dare they? I thought they knew I was in real estate. They know I'm smart. Why don't they work with me? And ultimately, I think somebody just said it right to my face. It was like, dude, you didn't earn that. It's just that simple. You didn't earn it. They went out into the marketplace and they found the one that they thought was going to be the best. And for whatever reason, that's who they worked with. And if you had given them more value or loved on them more or communicated with them more or differently or in a way that was more in line with what they wanted or expected or required, you would have gotten the business. So flat out, you just didn't earn it. So you don't get mad at them. Get mad at yourself.
And there's another aspect to that. I remember Michelle Slater talking about that she was so upset because somebody that she and her family and hang with all the time didn't choose her as a real estate agent, but as he knew her, she was a fun-loving kind of party girl, and that wasn't necessarily who he wanted to. And I'm not saying that's Michelle, but she said that they would, have drinks and things like that, and doke and things like that, and that's how he knew her as a person, and he didn't know her professional side, and she didn't have a chance to demonstrate that. So there's that aspect of it too. I mean, do you want to let your hair down with your friends or do you want to always maintain this professional facade?
Yeah, it just made me think about, like, what if Michelle, was sitting in that context and she was kind of just like having a drink or whatever, and then somebody, one of her clients calls and she's like, oh gosh, these clients, they're just keep calling me. Right? Like, you're always on stage, y'all. Right? People are watching what you do and what you don't do and what you say and what you don't say. Right? So if she might be thinking, and I just used her name because she was brought up, but like, if you are thinking you're impressing them by speaking that way, you're mistaken.
And I kind of the habit of grooming my friends and family. And it's like,
what is that? What does that mean exactly?
So basically, like, when I do have interaction stuff with clients, right? I'll say stuff like, oh, it's like, don't they, I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, my client, calling, it's like, I tried to already tell her that she was gonna have to have, this percentage like saved before she'd be able to do it. And I was like, she knows she has a home inspection. I don't know why she doesn't know it's not $300-400. I told her. So I always give them kind of real estate information so that when it comes to time for it to be with them, I'm like, you already know, because I've been already low key telling you about all the things that happen during the real estate process.
Right.
So I kind of slide it in there all the time.
And I think gratitude is a big deal there too. Right. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. This family, we're going to be able to move them into this school district so their kid can go to this special school or whatever. Or, oh my gosh, now this family is going to be closer to their work. I mean, I'm so grateful to be a part of that. Right. It's just always being aware of, and I'm not saying bullshit it, excuse me. I'm just saying, like, be aware of it and tell your people why you behave the way you behave. It's because you have a genuine interest in helping people move forward in their life. Right?
Have you ever been around somebody who's so passionate about a subject that they can't stop talking about it to the point where you're like, oh my goodness, please just get me out of here? Well, we can be, because most of us are passionate about real estate. I mean, I'll talk about soffits with somebody all day long, or joists or something like that. The home building process, I'm very passionate about. But so if we can do what Kai is saying and just sort of incorporate our passion into our conversations without being boring, I think people pick up on that kind of thing.
Love that. All right, Kaya, what's the deal with coaching? You're a pretty smart woman. You're pretty focused, disciplined. What has coaching done for you?
Well, some people are very disciplined, and it's like, and I can, set my goals and do all that stuff, but I know that I have an accountability issue. Like if I don't have somebody kind of checking in on me, sometimes I get a little off the rails. So I always feel like there's value in coaching, because then, number one, I mean, not to be running y'all up and down the street, but since my money is your money, I like having somebody that I can be like, hey, I need help right this second. And of course, there's all these different resources and stuff that you guys provide that you can call other people. And all of my questions don't necessarily just go to you, but because I'm in the group, I can go and look back at the group and see what people said and search the chat and be like, okay, let's see what somebody said last time they were asking about good inspectors, what somebody said last time somebody asked about termites, and all of that stuff. So like, it's a good reference for me for that. But having a coach that I have to go back and put my numbers into, like, like my Bill and I, our time that I check in varies week to week because I'm constantly doing stuff. But I know that before I've got to see Bill, I'm like, oh snap, I gotta hurry up and get these numbers up because I gotta talk to Bill tomorrow.
But you're getting what you want as a result, are you not?
I am, and
yeah,
you gotta work things, and everything works differently for different people. And for me, what works is knowing that I've got somebody there, because of course my money is a huge priority to me, but it's like dealing with somebody that I know that the path that it takes to get to where I need to get to, even if I don't listen all the time. I hear you, okay? And it's like, and even if I can't illustrate all the things that you want me to do, if you tell me 5 things and I can do 3, I'm like, that's a D, I mean, I pass.
Well, the thing is whatever had to happen for you to do those 3 things is the critical part. Right.
And it was all a mind shift. I mean, I really enjoyed, of course I enjoy real estate, and I like the idea of unlimited income. That's a big seller for most of us. The idea that your only limitations are you, mm-hmm. And when I look back and I looked at my account and was like, why don't I have more money? It's like, you're the reason you don't have more money, because the numbers are the numbers. And if I were the type of person to sit around and be like, okay, because there's no way you could have interactions with hundreds of people in a month and not get somebody to let you sell their house.
Bottom line right there, guys. The path is in the math. Say that one more time. If you have conversations with 100 people a month, something's going to happen. You cannot not get business.
And it's like, and it's like, it's not even, and the higher up your numbers get, because on one side people are like, oh, I'm not talking to the right people, blah, blah, blah. No matter who you're talking to, if you speak to everybody, somebody is going to give you a chance. And then
especially when you approach it with a smile and a genuine attitude, and you're super authentic, like people can see that in you, right?
Remembering to circle back, I've got clients where at the beginning all I could get were rentals, and it was very frustrating because everybody, there's like no money in the rentals, but there's an abundance of rental leads because nobody wants them. So if you're like, oh, if you don't have anything to do, get a rental. I mean, don't look at it like the money that you're getting. Look at it like an investment in your future, but it's only an investment if you remember to circle back with them.
Right.
Because
that's right.
I remember feeling bad. One of my clients, she's still not ready to buy, but she's gotten rent, but she was a rental client. She was like one of my first rental clients, and she's re-signed at least 3 times. And each time she's put my information down to to get me a check. I mean, I wasn't even out with her or anything. And she was just like, well, if the money got to go to somebody, and then I was like, man, I have to prioritize her because she prioritizes me. She keeps me front of mind, and most people won't do that. So then I was like, and I thought about her, and then I thought about all the other people that I could be getting to do the same thing, and it's like, and you don't want to manipulate the system, like, oh, because it's not about the commission checks, because the checks are like couple $100, you know, but it's better.
It's about the relationship.
Exactly.
It's about the relationship because they eventually they will likely buy.
Yeah.
And people want to do business with people that they have fun with, right? That they like. And I mean, you guys all know the vast majority of the beginning of my business came from rentals. And I suspect just about everyone in the office thought I was crazy. And I'm here and they're not. Right? All right. Who has some questions for Kaya?
Bill, this is Leslie.
Hi.
On the first call that I was initially on, Ashley said something, and we kind of like exchanged, some words like, okay, I was like, what is your name? And then after I searched and got her number, and the conversation that we had was so awesome that everything that she said, she pretty much told me on the call. So it's funny that this weekend I was out and I was just kind of messing around in the stores. And then I said, I'm gonna see if I can get 10 people to talk to me. It was actually like something that I was kind of like working on as a trial basis. And I actually got one person that actually said, hey, I want you to call me later.
Yeah.
So for me, in the conversation with her, she was just giving me so many different alternatives to the things that I was telling her that it just made me have the desire to get it done, to start talking to people, to start doing different things. So she definitely has an awesome presence.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And Kaya, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that you were the only person that called her. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so that's another message. It's guys, I'm not suggesting that all 20 of you call Kaya this afternoon, but I am suggesting when somebody inspires you, when somebody says something that gives you a slightly different look on or perspective, reach out to them and say, hey, I heard something there and I want to hear some more from you, because gosh, the way you approach this whole thing, it's making me feel like I'm Superman, and I want to be around people like that. Right?
Leslie, I love that you did that. One of the things that those of you who coach with me know that I always say is, if I could teach you one thing, it's to be resourceful, because that will take you so far in your business. And that was resourceful in action. That was resourcefulness in action, being proactive. And I think we talked about not too long ago about one of the reasons that agents fall out of this business. And one of the biggest reasons is that we tend to sit back and wait instead of being proactive. So kudos to you there. And thank you, Kaya, for being the blessing that you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Kaya.
Oh, now agents, I'm like, but me like building a relationship with her, like I was telling her, I was like, if I'm the only person that you know and then you need some help, right? And it's like, okay, come to me. It doesn't take me any time for me to tell you a little something. And, it's not a secret because we're not competing against each other. There's 80,000 agents out there. Why not have an alliance partner? Other people where when things happen, it's like now, if she saw me out or she and I on the other side of a deal from each other, she knows me better, and she'll trust me better because she knows more about me. And if she's too busy, every friend that you make is a potential referral down the line, somebody where, and it's like, so really, even when you feel like you're helping somebody else, if you come with the right intent, you're really helping yourself too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember taking Bold one time down in Cascade or what do you call it? Camp Creek area. And I went down there for one reason, but it ended up being a different reason that was most beneficial. I wanted to get coached by that coach, right? And that coach, John Prescott, by the way, who's actually coming next week, I think, to Roswell. I was going to go where he went. If he was teaching in Topeka, Kansas, I was going to be there. So I went to the south side of town to get coached by him. And it turns out I met a bunch of agents on the south side of town. You know what the deal is with those agents? they don't know the north side of town. And I don't know the south side of town. And so we created some referral partnerships, and I still get referrals from some of those relationships, right? So guys, don't be afraid to build your network in exactly this way. All right, Kaya, give us, I'm been terrible about this, and I apologize to all of you, and it's being super respectful of the end time here, but give us a, wrap it up for us. A lot of the agents on these on this call are, some are part-time trying to make a transition to full-time. Some are debating team or no team. Some are trying to figure out what is a priority and what's not one. Give us, like, what do people need to hear from you? What have you learned that has just changed it all for you?
If you want to make real estate something full-time for you and you're not getting the results that you need, there's so many avenues of real estate that you can dive into, where even if you being an agent all on your own isn't your full-time priority, you can, if you're, you can still make yourself full-time. If it means getting onto a team, then get onto a team, because half of something is still half of something. The half of nothing is nothing. So it's like, if you weren't going to make any money at all, and if you were on a team, you'd make X amount of money, and you need help because things like listings, and there's a whole level of accountability because even though we're in a community, of course, Keller Williams is a huge community of resources and people that can help you. Sometimes you don't want to feel like, I know I was feeling like, oh, I don't want to bother anybody, or I don't want to. And I was like, no, you have to, so if you're on a team, then they're your priority. But then if you're not on a team, there's a whole list of people that you can call, like that they give you, with the contracts and this and that, and be like, oh, okay, I'm not sure if I want to be able to do. Make yourself the priority, because you're the only one paying your bills. So don't be worried about getting on nobody's nerves. I don't worry about getting on nobody's nerves, because I'm like, too bad. Same thing with when you start going into deals. If your clients, if something doesn't seem right and you need to ask, or you need to be like, hey, well, like today I'm going on an inspection, and I know already that one of the things is like a protruding thing out. And I know that when my clients were going, they were concerned about it. You think when I'm there with the inspector, I'm not going to be like, well, what is the problem with this? Because just because you don't know stuff, it's a learning curve. And as long as you continue to learn, you'll be in the best position. Oh, and coming from a place of being a resource, a big thing that I do that really help people be like, oh, okay, well, that's good, was I go to Lowe's and Home Depot sometimes, and I look, or I go to like the floor and decor places. I try to set aside time to go to those places so that when people are trying to figure out what it would cost to fix or replace, I don't have to be like, oh, well, I'm not sure, and da-da-da, because of course you don't know. You're not a contractor, but you know that when you went to Lowe's, they were selling at 78 cents per square foot. So you can be like, hey, 78 cents times this, and this is this quality of this. Build yourself up a book, because people love for me to leave them with all of this stuff. And you know what? They're probably not gonna do much with it, but it sets a level of professionalism that people like.
I like you more right now than when the call started, I think. This is great stuff. I appreciate it's that type of commitment to getting better every day. That's what I'm talking about, right? Is you understand the difference between this type of tile and that kind of tile. And like, hey, real hardwood's going to be this per square foot. LVP is going to be this, and carpet's going to be this. And I'm not suggesting that you like become again, like she said, you don't need to become a contractor, but you do need to have the ability to have an intelligent conversation with somebody about real estate. That is your job, right? Imagine you're driving through Alpharetta showing homes, and your buyer is like, hey, what's going on over there? And you're like, oh, I don't really know. It's like, that's the Avalon, right? Okay, let's do one final question, and then we'll call it a morning.
And also, you guys can call and text me. So, and I mean it when I say it. People say it, I mean it. And, my phone number is available. All you do is Google my name,
That's right. Be resourceful on that one.
Okay,
any other anyone have any questions for Kaya while she's with us? Okay, Candace, anything you want to add?
Yes, everybody, Dual Career Mastermind is tonight at 6:45. We're going to be talking about 5 ways to, 5 hacks to save time and also increase your exposure. So I hope everybody can join. Kaya, I just want to say, amazing. We have so many people that are dual career, and for you to share, I especially love that you said your real estate money stayed in your real estate world and your job money stayed in your personal world, you know, your other world. I think that was a pro tip. So thank you so much for everything you've done this morning and said. I know you've lifted a lot of people up.
I have something I wanted to say.
Yeah, please.
Not a question, but more of thank you. It's a great way to start off a Monday. And sometimes you have to see the change that you want to be. So I appreciate that.
Love that. I love that. You guys, we're the biggest team in the office.
Hey, Bill, I have something I want to say too. I'm sorry, I was working.
Yeah, please.
That was definitely inspiration. My last day of work is this week, so I'll be transitioning to full time. So,
Oh my God, congrats. I'm sorry.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Wait a second, that's a big deal, and you faded out. Oh, it was just. I guess it was just you were mumbled
Everybody
only
being
on my
happy for
screen.
her.
Say that again, Markia, please. You were mumbled there for a second.
I said that my last day of work is this week, and so it's
Hey.
definitely
Yay,
motivational.
Markia. Yay. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So definitely a topic that was right on time. So I definitely appreciate all the insight you had.
Well, maybe I'll have to get with you to see what day you want to do a little interview too, because you have been quite impressive over the last year, and your achievement is incredibly well earned. And you know, guys, this is this is awesome. I'm just so glad that we get to share these opportunities with one another, and I get a chance to watch it. And you know, to see our friendships and our business relationships develop over time. And I want the smile that Kaya and Markia and others have on their face right now. I want you to have that, and there's nothing stopping you. It can get done. I mean, again, the path is in the math. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here today.
Awesome.
If there's anything that we can do to support you, please let me know. Markia, did you have one thing to say, or?
Oh no, I didn't even know I was not on mute. No, I just said it was awesome. Thank you.
All right, you guys have a wonderful day. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.